Now, we would normally have a collection here, but we will ask you, if you are feeling generous, to make a retiring collection as you're leaving the church. This church has indeed quite a history. And as I mentioned, in 1900 to 1909, William Hamilton Drummond's grandson, William Hamilton Drummond Jr., was minister here. And during the same time, there was another church in York Street, and within that church was the famous Thomas Carnduff. Thomas Carnduff was a local man here, working class lad, but also became a noted poet and a noted playwright. And I like to think, in my own imagination, in my own poetry, I like to think that although Thomas Carnduff worshipped in York Street, that somehow himself and William Hamilton Drummond would have met up. I'd like to think, maybe not that they were great pals, but that Carnduff may have occasionally listened to Drummond and be inspired by his visionary words, which was the way of the Drummonds, from the grandfather, William Hamilton Drummond, to James Drummond and Blakely Drummond, and now the grandson, William Hamilton Drummond Jr. Thomas Carnduff, a working class lad, fought with the Royal Engineers in the First World War. Later, he was laid off from the shipyard, as many were, and he became a bin man in the city of Belfast. He was a member of the Independent Orange Order, which was a separate organisation from the Loyal Orange Order. And at the end of his career, he was a caretaker at the Linen Hall, the famous Linen Hall Library, where I understand there is a plaque to him, celebrating him to this day. He was, as I said, he was a poet, he was a playwright, and he was known as the island poet because of the geographic nature of the shipyard. He wrote a number of plays which were presented in the Empire Theatre, Belfast, and indeed plays that were presented or performed in the Abbey Theatre, Dublin. Plays such as the names Traitors, Castlereagh, and Workers. And when his church on York Street was tragically and sadly bombed in the Blitz in the Second World War, their congregation came here to All Souls. He was very active in the trade union movement, and his poetry was published under the following titles: Songs from the Shipyard and Songs of Out of Work. I'd like to read to you one of his poems, and it's called Men of Belfast. O city of sound and motion, O city of endless stir, from the dawn of many a morning to the fall of the evening air, from the night of moving shadows to the sound of the shipyard horn, we hail the Queen of the Northland, we who are Belfast born. Hark to the ring of the anvil, hark to the sound of the loom, and the siren call of the steamers passing the harbour boom. The spiral curve of the smoke cloud, weaving a hazy screen, the rattle of home and vehicle in one unending stream. We gaze from the Cave Hill summit, the pride in our eyes aglow, as we look on a slumberless city that stretches her arms below. The dull red glow of the sunset fades in a purple haze, and the gloom of a darkened valley is bright with 1,000 rays. We are the men of Belfast, her sinew, marrow and bone. By the graft of our brain and muscle, we fashioned her a throne. And people, our lord, our parson, class, our creed, our clan. In a little we care for the title, if they play the part of a man. With jealous card and rancor, they would crush her wide world fame. They would damn the flames of her furnaces to render her commercial lame. But her ships will ply the oceans, her sons will ply on their trade, till the sheen of our glory will vanish and the faith of our sons will fade. The wonderful words of the working class and shipyard poet who worshipped in this church, and I like to think was a friend of William Hamilton Drummond Ogg, Thomas Carndale. Now, our final hymn is a hymn called Wisdom Divine, and it's written by Clifford Martin Reid, who I knew, who was minister with Ipswich Unitarians for many years. He has had numerous books, hymns, etc. published by Lindsay Press, which is the Unitarian publishing company. And the hymn is sung to the Londonderry air, or as they say in Stroke City, Londonderry stroke Derry air. And that was written in 1851. And it was first transcribed, this air, from a local fiddler by Jane Ross of Limavady, County Londonderry, in 1851. It was first published in 1855 in George Petrie's collection, The Ancient Music of Ireland, later becoming associated, as you all know, with Danny Boy. Now, who wrote Danny Boy? I'm going to really surprise you. Danny Boy was written by English lawyer Fred Weatherly in 1910 in Bath in England. He also wrote Roses of Picardy and the Holy City. But we won't be singing Danny Boy today. We're singing Wisdom Divine. And before we do, I'd just like to make a tribute of this singing to Charlotte MacDonald, musician, piano player, flutist, both traditional and classical, whose funeral took place in Stirling in Scotland last week. And I was invited over to be the celebrant at that funeral. She was a noted musician, known all around the music centres around Stirling and Falkirk and down to Edinburgh. And she will be sorely missed by her husband Donald, family and friends. So I'd like to dedicate our final hymn, Wisdom Divine, to Charlotte.